Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Joe Rogan says the quiet part of the liberal agenda out loud. Take a look at this video.
When you look at the current political landscape, particularly these trials, how disturbed are you by what seems to be this acceptance that people have for prosecuting political opponents? Because to me, it's, regardless of what you think about Donald Trump as a human being and the polarizing figure that he is, setting the precedent of trying your political opponents to somehow or another either put them in jail or make them seem like complete total criminals in a way that would, for the casual, for the person who's not reading deep into the headlines, for the casual Democrat that sees this Trump real estate thing that just happened where he got fined $365 million. The casuals, I've seen people argue, that, fraud is fraud and this, that, and he's a fraud. And then I saw Kevin O'Leary explain it from Shark Tank. He was saying this is what every real estate developer does. They say, my building's worth $400 million. And then someone comes along from the bank and they say, no, it's worth $300 million. We'll give you a loan on $300 million or whatever it is, whatever the number.
It's a negotiation.
But also, real estate pricing in general is a strange thing to say that's fraud because people overvalue their property all the time. I mean, it's a standard thing that people do. When someone has a house and it's worth $700,000, they decide to list it as $900,000, and the real estate person says, "Well, it's really pushing it." The guy's like, "That's what I want. I think it's worth $900,000." Like, people have always done weird shit like that. For sure. And then when you have this leftist judge that says that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million, like, then you just showed all your silly hands. You showed your hand, because that's a crazy thing to say in a place that has the most expensive real estate on earth.
Yeah, and and the Mar-a-Lago property is not worth $18 million. I mean, that's absurd.
Isn't it like 18 acres?
Yeah, it's huge. It covers both sides of the little key or whatever you call it, the little island. But the bigger question is the question that was first raised by the presidency of Richard Nixon, that is now coming to fruition with the presidency and the kind of ex-presidency of Donald Trump. We have a democratic system that favors Trump in the sense that he won in 2016. He's winning the primary right now for Republicans in 2024. But you have a bureaucracy that is dead set against him. And the rhetoric amounts to a very odd claim. They essentially say, we want to keep him off the ballot. We want to put him in prison. We want to bankrupt him so he can't become the president, even if the people support him. We want to deprive the people of making the decision. So you want to take it out of the realm of politics and into the realm of administrative justice or the criminal justice system, right, and adjudicate it in that way on bogus pretexts. I mean, the cases are bogus. And so the question that we're raising is, who actually rules in this country? Is it the American people who get to decide by their vote who represents them in the government? Or is it the permanent bureaucracy that has accumulated so much power? It is a contest of how we think of our democratic system. And I'm of the mind that the people should decide, not the bureaucracy. And this is a contest where Democrats are saying, essentially, we have to destroy democracy in order to save democracy. Democracy has very different meanings in the two usages in that sentence. We have to destroy democracy as we've traditionally known it, electing a president through a vote of the people, in order to save democracy, which is ruled by expert opinion, ruled by the bureaucracy, and essentially left-wing hegemony, left-wing domination over institutions. And as someone who tries to maximize whatever I can do to push forward on these issues politically, it's not lost on me that if they can wipe out someone like Donald Trump, we're all table stakes relatively.
Yeah.
And they're going to have no hesitation, because once they cross the Rubicon, metaphorically speaking, that's when dissent becomes a crime.
The narrative from the left right now is we have to save democracy from democracy. Here's a good question for the Dems. If you want democracy to prevail so bad, why are you so afraid of Donald Trump being on the ballot? it seems that they're throwing out this word democracy as if that they actually mean people voting for their chosen representatives, which, if that's what we're talking about, that's awesome. Let's do that. But that's not what they want. When they say democracy is on the ballot, what they're saying is we would actually like to take away your right to vote, which is the definition of democracy, by the way. And we don't want the opposition to be able to run because we're scared that people are going to vote for him. Yeah, that doesn't sound like they're the party that is pro-democracy, which is ironic considering their name is the Democrat Party. If you just follow the history, if you follow the history of the world, what happens is people start heightening, they get more polarized in countries. They start throwing out accusations like the opposition is really dangerous. The opposition is trying to hurt democracy. And by the way, I don't support this from either side, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I think the fear-mongering of saying that democracy is at stake is not only inaccurate, but it's immoral. But what you see in these countries time and time again is you see people say, oh, that other people, if you elect them, democracy is over, democracy is over. And so what they end up doing is they politically bar their opposition from running. And sometimes that happens in more social ways. Sometimes it happens in a more extreme way, which unfortunately is what's going on in America, where you try to financially bankrupt them or you send them to jail. And that's what's going on with Donald Trump right now. And so ironically, and everybody knows this, it's no secret, when liberals come out, liberal elites, by the way, there's plenty of liberals like Joe Rogan, who's totally liberal by every account, but he's just a logical person. And it's okay, you can be liberal. But liberal elites are out here saying, we have to suppress our opposition. He cannot be allowed to be on the ballot because America needs to be saved from itself. And they're so fearful of the polls showing that in the general election, Joe Biden is behind. And then, of course, in the swing states, Joe Biden is even further behind. So they're not worried about the state of democracy. They hate democracy because they think it's going to hurt them in November with the election. It's despicable, but I'm not worried about it because Joe Biden is an awful candidate, and there's people like Joe Rogan who I think represent a lot of liberals' feelings, and they're onto it. And I think people like Joe Rogan are going to vote for Trump because they're sick of a party who talks about democracy but literally is trying to lock up their opposition. They're authoritarians. That's just the end of the day. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. If you haven't already, please go subscribe and like, and we'll see you for the next video.